Man, this offense was able to mash against Kentucky, and this defense was able to create some problems. What did we learn?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, Vandy's huge road win versus Kentucky, man, it was a thing of beauty, man. It was a collection of their offensive identity, and it was a collection of their defensive identity, and they were able to put everything together as they finished off this massive road win. They seemed to be in control of the game. Whereas, your offense, the offensive line moves have been great. 21 and 22 personnel is starting to emerge a little bit. Like to see some more explosiveness. Defense had a phenomenal game plan. Need to be better versus the run. I thought the DB rotations were good. I thought a lot of things were good about the defense. So, but starting on the offensive side of the ball, man, I think one of the things that was key to Diego Pavia being able to do his thing, Cedric Alexander, AJ Newberry being able to do their thing, was the offensive line. And one thing that kind of probably slipped past a lot of your radars is some of the changes that were made by Coach Klinakis at during the bye week. It was moving Xavier Castillo to center and switching him out with Stephen Lasola moving over to guard. Now, that move has paid phenomenal dividends. I was reading some stuff today, post game reaction stuff, day after game reaction stuff, as I typically do. And one of the things I noticed was that there hasn't been a noticeable change. Like usually when you shake things up, you notice right away because there's some growing pains with like moving from guard to center. You played guard your whole life, you move down to center, and all of a sudden, like there's going to be some growing pains. You move from center to guard, and anytime you shuffle some things, there's going to be growing pains. And honestly, you didn't really see much of that, right? Which is good. Anytime you can not. I think for the offensive line, the more you notice them, it seems like the worse it is because you notice them for penalties and missed assignments. It's like very glaring mistakes that you notice them for. When the offensive line does well, the ball is being moved, the chains are being moved, the offense is still out on the field. I mean, there's a lot of great things that happen when your offensive line is humming. They seem like they're all one unit and they all kind of are together. Or they're singled out. If they're singled out more so, it's a bad thing. But I want to change that a little bit because I want to single out Castillo for his move to center and Lasola, him and those two switching, because Castillo is such a big guy. He is such a big presence there in the interior of that offensive line that at the center position, he's able to take on those bigger bodies like Deion Walker. He did a phenomenal job against Deion Walker, neutralized him for the most part, and I thought he did a tremendous job there. Lots of combo blocks, lots of things happening in pass pro communication and all that stuff. I thought he did a phenomenal job against Deion Walker. I thought the move with Lasola, I always thought Lasola was going to be a guard because he's more athletic. Guards tend to be, especially in this new age, like guards need to be a little bit more mobile because those are the guys that are going to be pulling a lot. Those are the guys that are going to be running. Like if you run a pin and pull scheme, those are the guys that are typically pulling because your center's blocking down, your tackles are blocking down, your guards are coming up, coming around. So it's it's important to have good athletes there. And Castillo, God love him, but it just wasn't quite a fit at guard because he just got so big. And he had just, Lasola was a better athlete, and that's no knock on Lasola. That's no knock on Castillo. It just needed to happen on the switch. So it's been huge, man. And for 2 weeks now since the bye, it's been it's been a massive, massive difference. You've seen now Alabama's defensive line got bullied, Kentucky's defensive line got bullied, and Vanderbilt was able to run the ball with relative ease like they belong since they made that switch. And so that's been I'm sure Diego, I'm sure the backs, I'm sure everybody's been kind of thrilled at that. So one of the things I'd like to see is more, speaking of the backs, speaking of the run game, I want to see more 21, 22 personnel, man. We saw a good bit of that in this game. We saw AJ Newberry and Cedric Alexander on the field at the same time. I love both of these backs. I think they both do a phenomenal job at different things, but also the same things, right? They're both really good runners. I think they're both electric runners, but it is going to be one of those things where you fight to get them reps. And if you're going like 11 personnel all the time, like you don't quite get the benefits of what these guys offer. I mean, AJ Newberry in the slot's pretty good. And so I think he's electric in the pass game. He caught a touchdown. He caught the first touchdown, I should say. Cedric Alexander is a great lead blocker. I think having those two in the option game are great. When they go to that diamond formation, you even get Monty Jones in there, so you can get 31 personnel. So we're going to start looking like an option version of old school Wisconsin with the personnel groupings. But AJ Newberry is so electric that like he's probably, and Cedric is the same way. He's equally as explosive. He's equally as good. But like, I feel like Newberry's a little bit taller, a little bit smoother of a runner, and I think he's somebody that can fit in the slot while we're trying to find our options there, because Hoskins is starting to emerge, so that might be something. Junior Sherrill it's just back and forth with him, and he's just not consistent enough. Quincy Skinner, obviously on the outside. He'll be kind of a mainstay, but like Junior Sherrill, Richie Hoskins, and AJ Newberry, somewhere in that mix, somewhere in that fold, you can find a good slot option. But I think in some of the run schemes and some of the option schemes, it's good to have two backs in there that are good, with AJ Newberry being the pitch guy, Cedric Alexander being the dive guy, or sometimes they flip the roles or whatever the case may be. But this is a very, very beneficial thing because it gets your best 11 out on the field, right? It gets your best skill core out on the field, because I think right now, until somebody steps up, until somebody's more consistent in the wide receiver core, until they get these freshmen involved and up to speed, I think this is your best personnel group. You have Eli Stowers, if you go 21 personnel, rotating with Cole Spence, or if you really want to get big, you have both of those guys in at the same time, and you go 22 personnel. And so you get some options there. You get a big pass catcher. You get an bigger athletic pass catcher in Eli Stowers, and then you get your two backs that you're able to do whatever you want to do. You can still present 10 personnel type looks, but you've got 21 personnel because AJ Newberry really kind of fits in as like a slot receiver type as well. So it's good to see, man. It's really this team is just fun to watch. This offense is just fun to watch no matter what they do. I mean, this run game is the wrinkles that they've put in with the power shovel option, the triple. They're starting to do the jet read now stuff. They're starting to really kind of expand on what they do in the option game and giving Diego Pavia more chances to be explosive. They're giving him more chances to be a big-time playmaker. They're giving Cedric Alexander more chances to get out on the edge. They're giving AJ Newberry some chances to run the jet sweep. They even made Eli Stowers the pitch guy on a play. I mean, there's just things that pop up within the game that you're just like, okay, this is pretty cool, right? And it's good to see, man. It's good to see the production. 20 points. What do we learn about that? Like, yeah, they only scored 20 points, and that's pretty good for Kentucky's defense for them to dominate and only give up 20 points. But, for a lot of the things that they did, their identity is control the clock, control the ball. And they did that. And their identity is to get points when they're in the red zone. They did. And they want to control the tempo as well, which they did, because when they wanted to go fast, they could go fast. When they wanted to slow it down, they could slow it down. That's a team that's in control. When you have a team that's not in control, like you have a team that tries to go fast. Like I think I'm just not sure. When I watch Kentucky, I'm just not sure what they do offensively. I'm just not sure what they're trying to do offensively. But that's the biggest difference, and that's what Vandy's trying to. That's what Coach Kill and Coach Beck are trying to instill. They're trying to instill this identity of, hey, we're going to be a physical, run first, control the ball team, and then as we get pass catchers that emerge, which is happening, then we'll start to be able to throw the ball a little bit. Then we may be able to look at changing up the tempos and saying, okay, we're going to go fast this series. Let's go. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. So. But until then, right now, 21, 20, 22 personnel, I think is phenomenal. You can give as many looks as you want. You can present that in as many type of formations as you want. It gives you a lot of freedom. So that's what I like there. But like I said, this offense is starting to click, man. They're starting to unfold a little bit. And this week, that's what I'd like to see against Ball State. We'll talk more about that here in future episodes about what we want to see against Ball State, and then we'll take it from there. But more explosiveness at the wide receiver is something I'd like to see, and we'll talk about that next. All right, this episode is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tool to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So you hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Also, LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, which is why they're constantly finding ways to make this process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making that process even easier and even quicker. So that's why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Make sure to make Locked On SEC your next listen if you want to listen to Chris Gordy. Also make Locked On Ole Miss your next listen as well. Stephen Willis does a phenomenal job, and he's got quite the shows lined up after that game against LSU. This will be an interesting week to be a fly on the wall in the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. So make sure you tune into that after you finish this one. So we're sticking with the offense. We're going to wrap up the offense because I want to give the defense some love too. Okay. This is not, I'm an offensive coordinator. So of course I'm going to hog all the offensive topics. So, you know how that goes, leave it to the OC to hog all the offensive time and leave out the defense. Right. That's what I do. Okay. That's my nature. I'm an OC. I like to call plays. All right. So, but here's what I'd like to see for the Commodores. Here's what I'd love to see Coach Beck and Coach Kill try to find answers to, which I think they already are, but I would like to see these answers start to kind of reveal themselves. And maybe they are, maybe I need to open my eyes more. But I would love to see more explosiveness at wide receiver. I would love to see these guys be a factor. Okay. I would love to see us be able to take shots down the field and know that, okay, there's a badass dude down the field that's going to make this play. And I want to feel comfortable in knowing that when Pavia drops back to pass and he unleashes it, somebody on the other end is going to be there to make a play on the ball. And so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, it's hard to find right now. But I think the system and the philosophy doesn't lend itself to throwing the ball a ton. I mean, there was only 20 passes attempted for Vandy. 16 of them were complete. And so there's not a whole lot of passes to go around. That's kind of the nature of an option offense. And I guess as long as this crew is here, I don't think you're going to get a lot of elite wide receivers because nobody wants to come make 2 catches a game. And I understand that. But I think for this offense to move forward, they do have to have a viable receiver. I mean, Georgia Tech has always had that. They had Demaryius Thomas when Paul Johnson first got there, and we all know what he was at Georgia Tech and in the NFL. It allowed Georgia Tech to have more of a vertical presence, which really opened things up for their option. Now, this is not an under center option team, so it could be a little bit apples to oranges, but the overarching concept is the same. It's stretching the field vertically so that you're able to create more space horizontally and open up some creases so that you can put guys in conflict and you can put these read guys out on more of an island. So I'd like to see more explosiveness at wide receiver, whether that is the existing guys that are starting. Quincy Skinner, I would love to see him really pop as a number 1 wide receiver. We don't have that yet. There's guys that are making those type of plays occasionally, but we just don't have that number 1 guy, that dude that you're just like, okay, when we go 22 personnel, you are the dude, right? We don't have that yet, right? We don't have okay, Quincy, you've got full stop. You are the dude when we go 22 personnel. Doesn't matter. From hell or high, you are the dude, okay? It's not Junior Sherrill. It's not Joseph McVay. It's not Tristan Brown. It's not Richie Hoskins. We don't know who it is. And I would love to see that answer kind of reveal itself as we approach Ball State and beyond, because I think down the stretch of the season when we're fighting for a bowl bid, that's going to need to happen, because there's going to be a game somewhere down the road where Diego Pavia is going to have to win it with his arm. It's just going to happen. It's just that game is coming. And I would love to have some guys that are ready to make those plays when that game happens. I don't know if that game is going to be against Texas, Ball State. I don't know if it's going to be against LSU, South Carolina, Auburn, whoever that game is against. I would love to be prepared for it and have a guy that's ready to go. Now, does that mean get the freshmen involved? Possibly. I don't, at this point, I don't see why you couldn't get them reps. I mean, you can throw those guys in there. I don't know if it's because they don't know what's going on, or, maybe somebody that's at practice every day can expound on that in the comments. But at this point, I just haven't seen, and just honestly speaking, I'm not saying Quincy Skinner sucks. I'm not saying any of these guys suck. So don't take it that way. But to this point, and if Quincy, if you're listening to this, Junior, if you're listening to this, take this as a challenge. All right. Love you guys to death. I think you guys are phenomenal receivers. I just haven't seen that potential yet. Maybe it's game script related. Maybe it's you can't get separation. Maybe it's just sheer luck, or maybe just Diego hasn't looked your way yet. But something has to happen between now and the end of the season. I would love Quincy. I would love to see Quincy. I would love to see Junior make it, because they were the guys that held on. All right. I would love to see the 2 freshmen make it, because they committed and signed with Vandy out of high school. Okay. The transfer guys, I could take it, I could leave it. I would love for them to contribute, but those are the 4 guys that I would love to see contribute, because they are Vandy guys. And Junior Sherrill and Quincy Skinner, they endured last season. And so they deserve this to be able to emerge as those playmakers and to be the guy. But they just now the next step is, okay, go be the guy. Okay, you're doing some good things. Now go do it consistently and go be that guy. Go be that dog. All right. It's 3rd and 5. We need a slant route. Who's going to be the guy? Who's going to be the guy that's going to win his one-on-one? Who's going to find space, catch, and get upfield and be tough to tackle? Is it going to be Quincy? I don't know. Is it going to be Loic Foungy? I don't know. Is it going to be Darian Wiley? Joseph McVay? I don't know. I don't know yet. I would love to see more explosiveness out of that group. I would love to see somebody catch it and take it to the house. I would love to see that. I would love to see Junior Sherrill in a jet sweep. Take it to the house. Like, I would love to see some of that explosiveness. And I think we have a very capable group. Just for whatever reason, because I'm not in the building, I don't know. I can't pinpoint that reason. But from what I'm seeing, it's just that there's just not a connection there. And something needs to happen to be able to find that connection, whether that's on the coaching side or the player side or a combination of both. Something needs to happen to find that connection. And once that happens, this will be a complete team, and this team will be really hell to deal with, right? This team, because if they had that against Kentucky, they would have scored 40 points instead of 20 again. So, it's not a knock to any of those guys. If you're looking for a part of this offense that I would say needs to improve, there you go. But looking at the defense, man, there's some great things happening over there too. We'll talk about what's happening there next. All right, game time. What time is it? Game time. Game time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live is even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, right? There's got to be a lot of upcoming deals, right? But, Game Time Picks curation make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and whatever else you're going to. All-in pricing. I love this feature. You have to toggle this on, but it shows you the total up front and no surprise fees at checkout. So it shows you what you know what you're getting. Seat views, a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Can't tell you how awesome that is. You have to experience that, and you'll thank me later. But also, Game Time has the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And Game Time ticket coverage also means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Who? All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here. Time flies when you're having fun, man. Vandy's on a little bit of a win streak, right? Albeit it's a 2-game win streak, but it's a streak nonetheless. And Vandy's sitting at 4-2, sitting pretty, right? Win this week, go to 5-2, hosting Texas and hosting game day. Ooh, that's going to be nice. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. So can't wait for that. There's rumors out there. I don't know if they've officially announced it. Maybe they have. Hopefully they have. But there's official rumors out there that game day could be. I think it's going to be contingent on Texas beating Georgia, but they could be in Nashville the week of the Texas game. So that'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, let's talk defense, okay? Let's talk defense, something that seems to be foreign to me as an offensive coordinator. No, not really. But I thought the defense had a great game plan against Kentucky. I thought what they did a really good job of was they frustrated Kentucky as far as their game plan goes, because I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish. I'm not sure what they wanted to do, what their goals are, what their identity is. I'm just not sure what any of that was. And I thought Vandy did a really good job. I thought Clark Lee did a really good job of not allowing them to figure that out. And they kept them on their heels a little bit. And it almost seemed like Kentucky was just reacting. Every once in a while they'd be decisive and understand, okay, well, hey, we have a weakness here. We're going to attack it some. And then Vandy would shore that up, and then they would go back to guessing. And it just seemed like they were just kind of all over the place. And like I said, all week, this offense is good. They're just not in sync, right? They have talent all over the place, right? That offense is super talented. Like if you had Liam Cohen, this would have been a totally different game. If you had any other offensive coordinator, you'd have had a totally different game because this team is loaded with talent. Like Vanderbilt is a good quarterback. He's just off, right? Barron Brown is a electric, dynamic receiver. You just couldn't find him consistently. Their running back is awesome. Can't pronounce his name. I'll probably butcher his name, but their running back is phenomenal, man. Like they have a good team. It's Demi Sumo Karingbe, and I'm sure I butchered that. But they have a talented offense. But what Vandy's defense was able to do was they were able to allow them to get their yards, spread their yards out, so their yards weren't. They had a couple good drives where you're just like, okay, this Kentucky offense might be figuring some things out, but then Vandy would adjust and Kentucky would go back to like not really being able to figure out what's going on. So I really like that they were able to take advantage of that and really take advantage of what they were able to do. So it's they did, they kept them confused a lot. And they presented looks that they haven't seen. They presented, I thought the DBs played really, really well. But I think this defense, solid effort in control. I think they were able to control them at the line of scrimmage, which was great. And they were able to get to Brock Vandegrift. They were able to flush him sometimes. And sometimes he burned them because he's a good athlete. Sometimes he burned them through the air because he's a good passer. But for the most part, they kept him on the run. They kept him off balance. He was making off-platform throws. They were behind the sticks a lot. And they really had to earn all 13 of their points. They had to grind, fight, claw, gouge for those 13 points, right? It was freaking laborious, right? They were working hard to get those 13 points, right? And that's kind of the point of what Vandy's defense wants you to do. They want you to earn it. Okay, if you're going to earn it, you're going to earn it, right? But they don't want to give it to you by allowing explosive plays, right? They want you to grind it out, and that's what they were able to do, and they were successful in executing that. Now, do they need to be better against the run? Yes. There's teams that have had success against them in the running game. They need to be able to. And I think sometimes that's a little bit that's kind of like a schematic hole in their defense where, they're worried about containing the C gap because a lot of teams like to run off the C gap now. They're worried about getting pressure on the quarterback because in this league, there's a lot of explosiveness at the quarterback position with every team on the schedule. So they're trying to affect the quarterback. They're trying to affect the perimeter run game or the C gap run game that I think sometimes they neglect the center of the defense. And with Langston Patterson not there, I think that was affected a little bit because I don't think they got all the calls perfectly like they normally would. And I was, but I was still thoroughly impressed with that. But they need to be a little bit better against the run because I think they get sometimes gashed a little bit in the run game. And I think it's sometimes a little too easy for teams to play against them. So I think that's probably, if they can limit teams to being able to, to being one-dimensional and not being able to run to set up the throw and not be able to get comfortable, that's going to be a big, big part of how they're going to find success throughout the course of the schedule, starting with Ball State and moving through all the way through Tennessee. So the DB rotations, I think they found some things. I really like what they're doing. DeRicky Wright had a phenomenal game. I thought Colby Taylor had a better game than once imagined. He got that one pass interference call, but I think that was a little bit ticky-tack maybe. Probably not the best call in the world, but I think I think he played pretty good in coverage. Trudell Berry played really good in coverage as well. I thought Dante Carter was able to get in and get some minutes. The safety, CJ Taylor, was outstanding. He was able to get some really good plays. DeRicky Wright, Brandon Fontenette. I mean, I think this defense has some swagger now, which I love seeing that. I love seeing this defense come out there. They're together. They're high-fiving each other. They know what they want to do for the most part. I think there's some holes, but there's some communication gaps, but that's football. But these guys just know what they want, and they just flat come after you, right? Brian Longwell, they flat come after you. And this is as tight of a defensive unit as I've seen at Vanderbilt. As long as I've been kind of having my eyes on Vanderbilt, which is probably about 15 years since I've lived here. 16 years since I lived here. So this is a program that needed this on defense. And I think Clark Lee's done a phenomenal job at bringing that to the table. So before I go, heavy heart for Miles Caper. That was rough to see, him getting stretchered off and seeing the looks on the guys' faces. And, I don't know how you refocus after that. But they did a phenomenal job of just kind of putting that in the back of their mind. I think once they figured out he was going to be okay, and he returned to the sideline, I thought that was a big boost to their effort. But as Diego Pavia said, defense carried the day, and defense picked up the offense. And Diego Pavia, again, being the leader that he is, credited the defense with everything. And so defense played extremely well, and we hope to carry that momentum and improve on some of the things that we need to improve on as they click on the film and work through it. But that's going to do it for us here. Kurt Page is due to come on the show here pretty soon. At some point this week, my goal is to have Kurt Page on to talk about a few things that we're seeing with the program, kind of check in as almost like a State of the Union. This is kind of like I don't want to call Ball State a bye week because of what happened at Georgia State, but this is quintessentially a break from the conference schedule, and it's going to allow us a chance to regroup. So we're going to do like a State of the Union for like this kind of the halfway point. But that's going to do it. Until next time, this is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Anchor down.